This is a bit of a mystery. It's called a Pythagorean school invaded by Sybarites. It's an Italian artist, and this is Pythagoras and his school. They settled in ancient Italy in the 6th century BC. He founded a school there. And these are the Sybarites. These are the drunken, disorderly neighbours invading the cabbage patch, which is so carefully tended by the Pythagorean scholars. In reality, Pythagoras led an army to defeat the Sybarites shortly after they were provoked. Incidentally, he also was a vegetarian, which is why they are just eating vegetables here, although he forbade his followers from eating beans because he considered that flatulence, or letting off wind, was in fact a form of destroying your soul. And that's why there are no beans in his cabbage patch, although I have to admit I always thought cabbages had the same effect anyway. But you see just how ancient a tree can be. Look at this. The entire fence has been grown over by this amazing tree. I have no idea how long that took to do, but isn't it impressive?
Another delightful children's toy from Portsmouth Dockyard Museum.
Okay, so I'm going to show you an example of art being modified far beyond the intention of the sculptor. Look at this. It's been relocated, and these sculptures, which are called Rush Hour by the American artist George Chagall, well, they've been wrapped in some kind of protected clothing. This one's been given a hood, so in fact it's completely different from what the artist intended. It looked more like some prisoners being led to execution, maybe, or some sort of person being hooded, or it looks like reservoir dogs. But it's absolutely hilarious to me that they've been sort of blanketed with this sort of fabric. You can see where they are not being attached to the ground yet properly, and I think it's really funny. This guy's got some strange protuberance from his hand. Not sure what that is there. But anyway, George Chagall, Rush Hour, modified somehow by blankets and a hooded contraption on it. I think it's wonderful. I think we should keep it like this. So I've just found the most amazing Italian emporium of food here next to Liverpool Street Station. It's called Italy, and and I'm going to just quickly show you what's inside it. It's absolutely enormous. Absolutely enormous. So this is the coffee section. So this is a map. It's got like 2 floors in it. This is the entrance where we come in. There's lots above it as well. You can pause to look at this. Virtually every possible Italian food is on display here. This is the chocolate and sweets area. 101. These. I don't think this is a Christmas decoration. I think it's here all year round. I'm not being paid to do this video, by the way. I'm just fascinated by the amazing food here. Right, this is the pudding sort of things, and this is the fresh pasta area here. I've just ordered myself some of the lovely ravioli, you can see here. Waiting for the food to be arrived. This is the fresh salad area. This is a tiny fraction. This is the bakery, the professional oven. Not the pizza bakery, by the way. Just right upstairs. More stuff there. What's all this? Takeaway food, well, ham, meat. I'm vegetarian, so this doesn't interest me. Oh, nice cheese. And anyway, this is what it is. Italy. I think it's like a chain of them, but I just can't wait to eat my pasta. And as I said, I'm not being paid to do this. In fact, I paid them for the privilege of eating here, so no marketing whatsoever. Anyway, here it is, Italy. I think I've died and gone to heaven, part 16. This book is by Nicholas Copernicus. It's the first edition of the book in which he postulated that the sun was at the centre of our universe and not the earth, as was previously believed. An incredible book, the most landmark in human thought, the most important scientific publication of the 16th century, 1543, a mere snip at just £2 million. Public art, beautiful. It's carved granite, and it's in the middle of Victoria Street, right next to Westminster City Council. And it was commissioned by Lynch Architects as part of the building here. It's by a company called Timorous Beasties, who specialise normally in fabric design, and it's called Bloodstained, and it's rather beautiful. It's an entire column that's propping up the building as part of the rest of the building columns here, but it's a proper work of art, and I love the way that it's been lit from beneath to show up the relief design on all the different planes of sculpture. A nice touch from the Lynch Architects who designed this building. It only opened about 3 years ago in Victoria. So here we go, Timorous Beasties, a lovely artwork called Bloodstained. So I'm in the National Liberal Club, and my friend Peter has just shown me amongst their treasures here, they have this very early photograph from 1965 of Jeremy Thorpe, who is unbelievably shaking hands with a dog, which is, given what happened to him later, is extremely ironic. I won't go into the details here, but just to say, Google it yourself, Jeremy Thorpe, dog. Okay, this memorial is hidden behind these candle holders, but I can just see it. Look at this. 1847, Edward James Oriel, poor only son of a vicar, died attempting to swim across the River Rhone and tragically drowned. This is a really beautiful sculpture. It's a shame that it's currently hidden behind these, but I found a website that told me where to look for it. How stunning. I love finding strange memorials, and here's a really interesting one. The famed swordsman Alexander Leighton, Master of Defence, died 1679. His thrusts, like lightning flew, more skillful death parried them all and beat him out of breath. 1679. St Dunstan's in the west, and there's more to come. So I'm in the Savoy Chapel. It is an original surviving Tudor chapel founded by Henry VII in the early years of the 16th century. It used to be on the land of the Savoy Palace, owned by John of Gaunt, and it's absolutely full because it's a royal peculiar, which means it's owned directly by the monarchy and not by the Church of England, of royal sculptures, or rather stained glass. Look at this. This is a window for the Queen's Diamond Jubilee, and it's got in it a detail. You can see underneath the horse here with her signature is one of her corgis, as well as justice, honour, the original declaration that she made when she first became Queen is underneath her signature here. The ceiling is full of the list of all the kings and queens who are associated with the Savoy area. We have the royal standards here and here, and some delightful organ music being played as well. But this is the Savoy Chapel. It's just off the Strand, so it's really central, right next to Waterloo Bridge. Open Monday to Thursday, 10 till 4 o'clock, and you can visit it yourself. So after my free hot chocolate at Christie's, I'm now going to look around the latest collection, which is due to be auctioned soon. So you can pause here and read this for yourself, but essentially it's a unparalleled collection of contemporary art from Africa and the Diaspora, collected by Robert Devereux. It's called the Sina Gina collection, and I'm going to show you a part of it. I'm not going to talk over the rest of this, I'm just going to let it go in silence.
Is it in here?
Yeah. Oh, it's in here.
Is it the legs?
No.
No.
No, Raisy's got no black one, is it?
Oh, really?
I couldn't see it. I thought it was in the first. I thought it was in the
No, I said which is my favourite of the African. Yeah, my favourite is
But
in this area.
Is
This is my
This
favourite.
is Southern.
Oh, that's too sad. No, it's not sad.
because that's the skin.
Yeah, but it's like it's like cold.
Yeah.
Mm.
It's got a shape.
Yeah.
But they have it. If you look here, I don't know. I just assume it's cold.
Yeah. But something's died.
Yeah, somebody died for the one you're wearing now as well. Darling.
That's true. Yeah.
That's true.
Oh, no. See, that's excellent. It's so very real.
Okay.
It's very clever.
I think it's very clever.
And this is clever.
I know that's really
This is what it's very,
Yeah, that's so good.
And that is the exhibition. In this very nondescript City of London building, it hides a secret. Inside the building works, you go down the steps and you find something absolutely amazing. Discovered by accident in 1848 when they were building the coal exchange here, and preserved, unlike other buildings which were just dynamited in that time before they had the Ancient Monuments Act. We have here a genuine Roman house built in the late 2nd century AD. This is just like a genuine archaeological site, but the real treasure here is that they found something else, not just a Roman house. They also found a Roman bathhouse. You can see the tiles here. You can see the tepidarium, the cold room. That's the caldarium, the frigidarium rather. And yes, there's an original Roman bathhouse under the pavement here, which is open to view on Saturdays. The City of London guys like myself will show you around. What an absolute treasure house, the original Roman bathhouse. Can you see the writing on the wall? So I'm in the Strand. This is the Royal Courts of Justice. This is the Temple Bar Monument. And that is St Clement Danes Church behind this bus that's coming. Look at the Tesco opposite. Can you see those writing on the wall? It's very clear now. Aerated Bread Company. This was a revolutionary Victorian invention. A man called Thomas Douglas in the 1860s invented a new way of preparing bread that didn't involve kneading by hand. It became immensely popular, and ABC branches, as they were known, sprung up all over the country, especially in London. They became the favourite place of literary people to sit in. Graham Greene featured them in many of his books. Even George Bernard Shaw, that famous campaigner, socialist writer, speech vegetarian, would often come to this particular branch in the Strand of the ABC to sit and hold forth his special society. So if you notice aerated bread code, it revolutionized health and safety for bread in the 19th century and allowed much cheaper, better quality bread to be produced. It was superseded by new technology in the 20th century, so it no longer exists, but for a time they rivaled all the tea rooms in the country for being successful shops where you could have healthy bread and pastries, etc. And that's why it still exists above the signpost here, the ABCs. People are often asking me, David, what is the smallest sculpture in London? Now, I've made a couple of videos about this, but to be honest, the real one, I think, right where this is the Mall, this Buckingham Palace right at the end here. Lots of cars rushing towards me. I better make this quick. This is the Admiralty Arch, and if you look up at Admiralty Arch, just on this part here, can you see this? This is allegedly the smallest sculpture in London. It was one of the noses of Soho, up here by an artist. There are several that are left apparently, but this is the most famous one. It's right next to Trafalgar Square, and people say that this nose is the smallest sculpture in London. So I was admiring this artwork in the Tate Britain. This is the Cornelia Parker leather. So this is not an artwork at all, I've just discovered. I spoke to one of the security guards here who explained that this actually is from a previous exhibition. You can see here it says Sunday Times. And they were just covering up the writing here in advance of eventually a new painting being done of this entire area. So it's not an artwork at all. Or maybe it is. Under postmodern rules, we as the experiencer are allowed to interpret art any way we like and declare something as art, even if it wasn't intended to be. And that's what this is, possibly. Or maybe it's just a piece of home decoration with a roller. This is Rodin and Cornelia Parker. It is Rodin's famous sculpture, The Kiss. And it has been violated. There is a mile of string that she put around it as a sort of she claims it to be a punk gesture about the ties that bind and sometimes the oppressive, smothering nature of relationships. But one of the security guards has just pointed out to me that the string used to be tight all the way around it, but it looks like someone, maybe as a prank or perhaps deliberately, has actually cut the string here, so that's now hanging loose. Maybe it's a subtle allegory on about the end of relationships. So the story behind this building is, don't piss off the architect. Okay, so this is an ancient Christopher Wren church in the middle of the city of London, and the building next to it is a late Victorian building. Now, the vicar of this church was really litigious, and when he discovered that the drawing plans for this building were just 1 inch jutting over into the churchyard, he complained, and they had to entirely redo the building at great cost and expense. The architect took his revenge on the vicar, however, as he modelled one of the 3 gargoyles which you see here on the exterior of the building on the face of the vicar himself. So who had the last laugh here? The architect or the vicar? St Peter Cornell, City of London. All of this is under 18-year-olds, people who are in prison or in supervision of secure settings. And there's a charity called the Koestler Foundation, Koestler Arts, which encourages people to create artwork when incarcerated. And all the artworks here are created by young people under the age of 18. We are in the Supreme Court, and they've been given this opportunity to display their work here. I think it's stunning. The artworks that these people who must be experiencing incredibly difficult situations are able to produce, and I think it's absolutely fantastic. And here's a bit of information about the charity. You can pause and read it. This is a poem by someone in Prior Hospital, Cheadle Royal. And this is information about the Koestler Arts Trust. And here's a final poem, The Struggle, from the same institution. This little sign reveals nothing of the astonishing history of the organisation, who used to be based at this office in the centre of the city of London. So they started out as a nonconformist religious society, and they stood here in South Place, right next to Liverpool Street Station, the end of the road. But then, gradually, through the 19th century, they moved to Unitarianism and then Universalism, and finally, after a very, very convoluted journey, they actually gave up Christianity altogether and became what's now known as a humanist society. Can you imagine a religious group en masse deciding to convert to effectively atheism? That's what this group, under the leadership of Monsieur Conway in particular, did. They've moved now to Red Lion Square and Conway Hall, and it's the home of the British Humanist Association, who are fervently anti-religious and no longer support any type of Christian or any other faith observation. And yet they grew out of a non-conformist religious group that started in the City of London and stood on the site of this newish building until 1927. Now, actually, when this building was being rebuilt recently, I contacted the architects and reminded them that this plaque was here, as it used to stand just outside on the railings here. They replied, well, I'm not sure whether it was just me who did it, but effectively they acknowledged that it was going to be recited, and they put it. So, to be honest, it's rather out of the way here, but at least it's here, and you can pay homage to the spiritual, as it were, home of British atheism by visiting this site. I'm in Blackfriars Road, and the cycle superhighways are meant to have revolutionised the volume of cyclists and encouraged them so much. Yes, here we go. Absolutely. And I think I call that a success. I don't know about you. So there's a scandalous portrait in this club. This is the National Liberal Club in the heart of Westminster, in Whitehall. Full of paintings of famous members of the club, famous Liberal politicians. I'm a reciprocal member here through another club that I belong to. But who is this gentleman over here? I wouldn't say hidden, but certainly in a corner of the room. It is Sir Jeremy Thorpe, the famous Liberal leader who fell from grace following scandalous affairs in the 1970s, which led to the alleged attempt to murder his lover, Mr. Norman Scott. Jeremy Thorpe, National Liberal Club. Bridge of Spies, the Blue Bridge, the Tim Bridge. Two wonderful views here in St James's Park. First of all, Buckingham Palace with the Royal Standard flying to show that King Charles is in residence. Walk along the bridge, just a few steps. I keep remembering I need to work out how to accelerate videos, and you've got another amazing view on the other side, this time of, well, you can see here London Eye with the Foreign Office next to it, I think, and further along you've got Horse Guards Parade, which is where Henry VIII's tilt yard, his jousting ground was, and where the Olympic beach volleyball was held. Do you know that you're not allowed to shake nuts in a wonderful historic Covent Garden? How did I find this out? Because of the bylaws. Through this narrow passage, the Covent Garden rules, orders and bylaws are listed, and here is the most interesting one. It says, no person shall shell peas or beans, trim vegetables, shake nuts, peel walnuts or sort fruit in, on or over any of the footpaths in the said market, or fight or create any riot or disturbance, or use indecent or obscene language, or hawk, carry about or cry any article whatsoever for sale in, or stick up any bill or placard on any part of the said market. Penalty 10 shillings. So don't shake your nuts in Covent Garden. So there's been a long history of protests in Trafalgar Square. Today we have Extinction Rebellion. Back in the 1860s, however, just after Prince Albert died, there was another big demonstration here about a statue that just used to be legislated in constantly. What was that statue of? It was a statue of Edward Jenner, a man who saved millions and millions of lives by creating a smallpox vaccine. Now, his statue was put here by Prince Albert, Queen Victoria's husband, in recognition of the millions of lives that he saved. However, after his death, anti-vaccination campaigners, and we've heard a lot about them recently, protested here and had the statue removed and taken down. And it was moved to Kensington Palace Gardens in the end. So, some of the demonstrations we might approve of, others nowadays are less attractive. So this is a Rorschach rattlesnake poison blot test. The artist Cornelia Parker made this, having milked the venom from rattlesnakes and then combining it with the antidote to form these four Rorschach mirror images. But they were all made from rattlesnake poison and venom antidote. Again, get ready to pause the video so you can read her explanation. This is known as the very, very first painting from the Pre-Raphaelite Brotherhood. It's called The Eve of St. Agnes, based on the poem by Keats, and it's by William Holman Hunt, and it's currently in the Guildhall Art Gallery exhibition inspired. Next to it is a painting by John Everett Millais, another founder member of the Pre-Raphaelite Brotherhood. It's called The Pot of Basil, and if you look in the bottom right hand corner, you will see written on the table leg the letters PRB. This was the secret code that was used by the Brotherhood, standing for Pre-Raphaelite Brotherhood, until it was found out and became well known.
Okay, very good. Okay, so we are standing in the piazza of Covent Garden. However, this hasn't always been a garden, even a market. Way back, after the Romans left London in around the year 410, the Saxons who followed them set up their own place around here. For many centuries, they called it London Wick, and this is where they stayed until much later on Alfred the Great moved back to where London City is now. So this was originally where the Saxons were based. After that, it became land owned by the church. Westminster Abbey, in fact, had their gardens here, which is where the term convent or convent garden came from. However, after Henry VIII dissolved the Catholic monasteries in the mid-16th century, this land, amongst many others, was given to his favoured aristocratic families. In particular, it was the Duke of Bedford whose family were given this area. And after a period of time, they wanted to make some money out of it. They decided to build a square here. So they brought on board the famous architect Inigo Jones, who had already created the banqueting house in Whitehall, by the Whitehall Palace. He was very influenced by Italian and French trips he'd seen to the architecture there. So where we are now, to your right, he put the church, which you can't quite see from here, I'm afraid, but it will be the next stop in fact. But he also built 3 rows of grand houses around the edge of this area. And it became the trendiest part of London to live in. For a couple of decades at least, the wealthy people flocked here, they bought the houses around here. It was the first proper square, in fact, laid out in London. However, over time, a small market started to develop in the centre of the laid out gravel area we see in front of us now, and the market itself attracted a slightly lower class of reputation. So the wealthy people who had moved here moved westward towards new squares being laid out, such as St James's Square, which you may see at a later walk. This then developed, the market became more and more important. The shops and the coffee houses and the inns and the ale houses and the bagnios. A bagnio is a name for a Turkish bath. As you might suggest, these are slightly going down and down, the social acceptability. They also were a lot of brothels here as well over time. This became a combination of a very dangerous place, a very exciting place, a place where lots of literary people also came as well. It was a big melting pot of ideas as well. So Dr. Johnson would frequent the Bedford Coffee House, which is just on that side. In fact, that's where he met his favourite biographer, Boswell, famously. But lots of other less salubrious things happened here as well. So much so that a famous book called Harris's List was written regularly for many decades in the mid-18th century, describing the women whose favours could be bought here, the type of services they provided, their appearance, and their general reputation. It was an extremely popular book that books have been written about it in the past. And there's a woman called Hallie Rubenhold who wrote a recent book about it that I recommend if you're interested. Later on, the actual building in front of you see now here in the 1830s was built as a market, made out for marketing. Mr. Fowler was the architect, and Mr. Cubitt, who was the son of Thomas Cubitt, the famous builder, built this as well. Now, as you may have heard before, lots of entertainment also happens here as well. Street entertainment. And I'm going to show you a little example of the type of entertainment that could happen here also, if you want. So as you can see here, we have 4 cards, 2 kings and 2 fives. How many cards? 4. Let's have a look. 1, 2, 3, 4. Very good. Okay, the second question is this, and this might not work. Okay, what card is that?
What card?
Yes.
5 of diamonds.
5 of diamonds. Hold your hand out, please. Excellent. Right. Second question is this. What card is that? 5 of spades. Hold your hand out, please. Excellent. If those are the cards of diamonds and the 5 of spades, then that means this is the 2 kings. Yep. Okay. If I have my hand out, if I do this, and now I'm going to make the 2 fives change place. Turn them over. And you'll see that the 2 fives are here. And the kings are there. Thank you very much. So I can't resist it. It's very dangerous. I'm on my bike waiting for people to get past me. This is Fishmongers Hall at the north end of London Bridge, and here we go. I can't believe how absolutely spectacular the London skyline is tonight. What an incredible skyline here. Late mid-October rather. Absolutely stunning. Earth has nothing to fear, nothing sacred about whatever words were said. Westminster Bridge rather than London Bridge. Anyway, isn't this a spectacular skyline here? With the Shard on that side, Tower Bridge that way. And here we have again, feast your eyes on, I say. Absolutely wonderful. It's a mackerel, wherever it is. It's like some kind of divine inspiration, isn't it? Stunning. So glad to live in London. A lovely place, it's my commute home. There we go, that's it.
So I'm in Westminster Reference Library, and there's an amazing art exhibition here where a company called Field and Young have copied famous paintings by using, they call it ethically sourced, but still dead, stuffed animals that they do the taxidermy for into these wonderful ideas. This is obviously based on. Next door there is a Banksy with 3 rats. Further along, this is all their taxidermy tools that they've used. Oh, it's a whisper here, I'm in the library. Then they have Whistler's mother. Then there's the old Degas, little dancer, pretty Dawsons. Yeah, very artfully posed. Tippy toes. Next we have, okay, this is Caravaggio, and it is Judas beheading Holofernes. Next it is René Magritte, the Son of Man. I just love the tailored clothing for these exhibitions. Okay. Next up we have, looks like Franz Hals, and I think Cavalier, and it is Franz Hals, the Laughing Reynard. Okay, we've got at least 3 more to come. Okay, I don't know this artist. Oh, it's Larry, I just didn't recognise the artwork. Okay, 2 more to come. Right, the next is American Pastoral. I recognise that, or American Cockerel, perhaps. American Gothic even. Isn't this stunning? And finally, the last piece here is Rodin. Or Rodent, more like the thinker. So, and here is a bit more information about the original artworks. The artists are called Field and Young. It's in the Westminster Reference Library, which is just south of Leicester Square, and I thoroughly approve of this art installation. And I happen to have bought at an auction recently, but please don't ask the price, this book, which is, as you can see, a true and faithful account of the several informations exhibited to the Honourable Committee appointed by Parliament. However, they did have an agenda. If you look at the bottom part, it says informations regarding the incidency of popish priests and Jesuits and the increase of popery. Now, one other thing, an added bonus for you. If you look at the bottom of this page, it says here the 20th of January 1666. How can that have happened for the inquiry when the fire was in 1666 in September? The answer is that until the 1750s, our calendar didn't start the new year until I think the end of March, which is where the tax year starts now. So in reality, if you're dealing with any documents dating from before the 1750s in this country, be aware that any date from January to March is likely to refer to the previous year. Thank you very much. Goodbye. So following the murder of Mahsa Amini by the Iranian morality police, this exhibition at the Barbican Curve Gallery couldn't be more timely. Okay, it's by Sahila Sakandari. You can pause the video to read this to understand it more, and pause your video again to see this. 28 women celebrated here, artists and creative women who all they wanted to do was to express their art, but they weren't allowed to because it involved showing their hair. They all had to make choices to either leave or conform, or go into hiding or change their name even to survive, and this celebrates them. What a tragic repression and waste of talent, opportunity and limiting of freedom that the Iranian repressive regime represents. And this celebrates what it could be instead. And at the very end, we have the sculpture that looks like the alien life form from the film 2001. So if you get the chance, come to the Barbican and see this exhibition. If you like Joseph Cornell, then you will like Caroline Schneemann's exhibition at the Barbican Gallery. This is called a controlled burning. She will set fire to the interiors covered with petroleum, quickly snap the lids shut, and then it would turn into the experience you see now inside. Other objects much similar to Robert Cornell are here. It's a good fireplace. This is Pharaoh's daughter. Side by side, their faces blurred, the Earl and Countess lie in stone, their proper habits vaguely shown as jointed armour, stiffened pleat, and that faint hint of the absurd, the little dogs under their feet. Such plainness of the pre-Baroque hardly involves the eye until it meets his left-hand gauntlet still clasped empty in the other. And one sees with a sharp, tender shock his hand withdrawn, holding her hand. They would not think to lie so long such faithfulness in effigy was just a detail friends would see. A sculptor's sweet commissioned grace thrown off in helping to prolong the Latin names around the base. They wouldn't guess how early in their supine stationary voyage the air would change to soundless damage, turn the old tenantry away, how soon succeeding eyes begin to look, not read. Rigidly they persisted linked through lengths and breadths of time. Snow fell, undated. Light each summer thronged the glass. A bright litter of bird calls strewed the same bone-riddled ground, and up the paths the endless, altered people came, washing at their identity, now helpless in the hollow of an unarmorial age, a trough of smoke in slow suspended skeins above their scrap of history. Only an attitude remains. Time has transfigured them into untruth. The stone fidelity they hardly meant has come to be their final blazon, and to prove our almost instinct, almost true. What will survive of us is love. An Arundel Tomb by Philip Larkin. This is such an incredible piece of medieval relief. It's called The Raising of Lazarus, and it's been dated to about the year 1125 here in Chichester Cathedral. It was hidden for centuries behind boards, only uncovered in 1829, and then moved here. Just have a look at the dolefulness, the absolute sadness and pity and life that's been placed into these figures here. 1125, less than 60 years after the Norman conquest. I think this is Jesus raising Lazarus. What an incredible piece of emotion and heartfelt dollar the medieval skilled workers put here. Unbelievable. I love this so much. So I've just discovered this amazing restaurant with fantastic views, and it's literally right next to Trafalgar Square. So what we have here is the Colosseum, or the English National Opera, in St Martin's Lane. Then we have here National Portrait Gallery, National Gallery, and look over here, we have an absolutely wonderful view from the north-east wing of Trafalgar Square, of Nelson's Column, and of that wonderful church, St Martin's in the Fields. I haven't eaten the food here yet, but I'm sure it's absolutely spectacular. The restaurant is called Bish's Seaman, and it's got these amazing balcony views all over London, including in the distance the London Eye, as well as right over there in the far corner, it's the Shard. But the best views of all here are, of course, of Trafalgar Square. Let's zoom in. Here's Lord Nelson. There's a poem you learn at school with all the kings and queens in it. It goes like this: Willie, Willie, Harry, Steve, Harry, Dick, John, Harry, 3, Ned, Ned, missing, Ned, and all the way back along the line. So Ned, 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 then Richard 2, Harry 4, Harry 5, and Harry 6. Then who? Edward 4, Edward 5, Dick the Bad, i.e. Richard III, then Harry Twain, i.e. Henry VII, Henry VIII, I don't know why he's missing, and then Ned the Lad, Edward VI, the boy king who became king at the age of only 9 years old. And that is the poem you use to remember the royalty of England. I've written it down here as well. Willie, Willie, Harry, Steve, Harry, Dick, John, Harry 3, Ned, 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 then Richard 2, Harry's 4, 5, 6, then who? Edward 4, 5, Dick the Bad, Harry's Twain, Ned 6, the Lad. The kings and queens of England. Well, no queens yet, just kings. So, I'm at the Wellington Arch, and we're just about to see the Lifeguards Cavalry Regiment coming from duty. They've been at Horse Guards for the past 2 days, I think. They're the only regiment in the British Army, along with the Blues and Royals, that need to wear armour. And their horses are Irish black horses. They spend an hour a day polishing their boots before they go on parade, and they are the household cavalry passing underneath the Wellington Arch. If you look closely at this portrait, you might find something slightly unusual about it. Have a look at the date this gentleman, Robert Nelson, was died rather. It says here 17 14/15, January the 16th. Why is that? It's because until the 1750s, our calendar year, actually started at the end of March, beginning of April. It wasn't, and before then it was the Julian or the Gregorian calendar, I'm not sure which, but effectively it was aligned to our modern day tax year. So if people died in that first 3 months of the year, just to make it clear, a lot of portraits were put in 4/5, so you understood that in fact it was at the cusp, sort of between one year ending and the other beginning. And that's why it's on this painting. One of my favourite ever memorials is in this church in the City of London by the Barbican, St Giles Chapel Gate. And here it is, I think it's quite honest, to be honest, okay? Thomas Stagg, attorney at law, blah, blah, blah. That is all. I don't know whether that's a commentary on how uninteresting his life was, or more, maybe it's a statement about the meaning of life, essential meaninglessness, which wouldn't be that appropriate for a church, really. But somehow that phrase still rings poignantly from over 250 years, and I wonder what he meant. Hello, I've just discovered some really funny art. So this is the sculpture in the city, which every year in the City of London they bring in about 20 works of art that are specific to the locations. There's one of them over here. That's not the one we're talking about today. It's this bench here. There's a guy called Oliver Bragg, and he's put 5 benches around the city with silly rhymes on them dedicated to imaginary people. This one says, in loving memory of Stuart Spittle, who spouted preposterous piffle. Now, I've just Googled, and there is, in fact, someone in New Zealand called Stuart Spittle. I've no idea if he's aware of this or if it was named after him. I doubt it somehow. But you should really check before you start to slander people like that, before putting that out in public artworks, I have to say. Anyway, here is the explanation of the specific artwork and details of where you can find all the others. I'm not going to find them all today, but I'm sure they're all equally amusing and entertaining. Here you go. Who gave more words to the English language than even Shakespeare himself? Well, he is buried in this church, and there is a memorial to him here. So this is the church, St Giles Cripplegate, completely destroyed inside in the Second World War and rebuilt. And over here we have the statue dedicated to the man who coined more words than anyone else in the English language. Can you tell who he is yet? Well, I'll give you a clue. He was blind, and he was the sort of patron poet of the Puritans. His name is John Milton. Amongst other words he coined was sensuous, fragrant, earth-shaking, pandemonium, unemotional, and I think it's over 620 words that he actually created. And that's double the number that Shakespeare did. Do you like stuffed animals? Yes. Do you like art? Yes. Do you want them combined together? Come into this library. Westminster Reference Library. And there is a free exhibition here. Let's have a look at what we've got. Okay, first up we have Rodin's Dinka, or maybe is it Rodent? We have American Gothic, American Clucket, and there's Lowry's man lying on a wall. Franz Howell's Laughing Cavalier. Freddie Magritte's Song of Man, Song of Fox. Right, this is Caravaggio's Judith's Beheading, Holofernes. Degas' Little Dancer, complete with tippy toes. We have the Whistler's Mother, looking very wistful. These are the tools of the trade, the taxidermist's work pieces. Then we have the rabbit with the pearl earring, and lastly we have Banksy's warning anti-crime paint. This astonishing mid-Victorian brackets 1868 building in the shadow of the walkie-talkie, and incidentally this is the street where the light from the sun concentrated from the convex windows on the walkie-talkie and burnt the street where we are now. One enterprising journalist actually fried an egg in a saucepan, frying pan here, Anyway, I digress. So this was designed by the Victorians as a vinegar warehouse, and it's extraordinary. It's even got a boar's head in it. You can see the boar's head just up here. It's connected to a story about the Boar's Head pub. It used to be on this site, frequented by Falstaff from Shakespeare's fame. Nowadays it's the Black Sheep coffee, so not much the Boar Head is a black sheep, but it is an extraordinary Victorian architectural. Hello, I'm into what I think is one of my new favourite bookshops in London. It's called the Halcyon Bookshop in Lee. You may remember, some of you, that it used to be in Greenwich, a rather less salubrious place than it is now. But it's full of astonishing books that are very, very cheap so far. I've already bought one from them. I'm going to ask a few more, and I highly recommend it. It's called Halcyon Days, and the bizarre thing about it is that directly opposite it you have this incredible building. It's called Boone's Chapel, and it is allegedly built by Christopher Wren himself in the 1680s. So you have two objects of beauty, one architecturally and one literally literal. And that's it. Thank you very much. Imagine you're the king, King Charles I. You're going to be executed. You're a brave man. It's a bitterly cold day. What do you ask for? You ask for an extra shirt. This is the genuine shirt at the Museum of London Docklands, worn by King Charles on the day of his execution. You can read this. His gloves that he gave to his friend the bishop, and this is him with his head chopped off on the day. So he'd fallen out with Parliament, and Oliver Cromwell and his group had him executed. They didn't want to execute him after his death. This image of him as a saintly martyr with his head sewn back onto his body. This was actually made in 1660 when his son Charles II came back to the throne, and these three women are meant to represent England, Scotland and Ireland. And this is the genuine clothing that he wore when he had his head chopped off. So in the 10th century in London, King Edgar granted a certain area of land to 13 knights on condition that they each perform 3 duels, one on land, one on ground, one underwater. And when they'd achieved it, they were given the land from the edge of the River Thames into as far as you could throw a lance from a horseman riding into the river at low tide. This statue was commissioned in 1990 to be put here, representing one of the knights about to charge into the river to throw his lance to establish as much land as they could. Originally, this was actually based on a turntable, and it would move 1 degree every day of the year, so that after 365 days, give or take 5 degrees obviously, it would be done a full circle. Unfortunately, the turntable is gone, but the horse remains, and it is rather beautiful. I particularly love the blue glass bosses on the cloak that the horse is wearing, and the sculptor is a name called Dennis with a Y, Mitchell. So this is an exhibition at Canada House in Trafalgar Square. It's the Scotiabank Photography Award winners of the last 12 years. And I'm going to look around all the photos one at a time. You can pause and look in detail. Try and remove this shadow there. think this bottom one is my favourite. And this is a letter of a photograph that was posted, and it's to the winner. So this is the Scotiabank Awards Photographic Exhibition at Canada House in Trafalgar Square.
I'm David Harrick, I am the London Spy. This is London. And please follow me if you like the videos, click on the links to follow my TikTok, and come and see me at one of my tours.